Continuing our series, Fam, I Love You. Last week, week 1, talked about being humble. And we're going to continue this week as we launch into our block group season, fall season. You got to be in a group. Best way to connect with people. We'll talk about that a little bit today. When my wife and I were youth pastors in Illinois, before we came here, we went on a little bit of a scouting trip to Philadelphia. And our bosses knew that we wanted to plant a church in Philadelphia. And so we had taken a weekend and we were going to come to Philadelphia and figure out where we were going to live and do all that kind of stuff. And there was a couple that we got really close to in Illinois, and they had been praying, and they're like, man, we are coming with you guys. We're gonna be your first couple on your team. And we got your back. And so we flew to Philadelphia together from Chicago, and we walked around and we ate and we prayed together, and we even cried together, just believing God. And we're like, man, we're feeling good. We got another strong couple who's gonna join us. And anyway, we flew back, and that was probably late in the weekend. Well, I found out on Monday that same individual who went with us to Philadelphia for the weekend on the scouting trip, he actually marched into my boss and said, hey, I would like Joey's job when he leaves. I don't know why you're laughing at that. Isn't that amazing? How many would say, man, I've been done dirty by some people before? And I'm like, wow, what an act, to put on just to have my job. You just could have asked, And anyway, but I was thinking about that. They did apologize later on, right? So justice is the Lord's, just not in your time. Justice is the Lord's. But I was just thinking, like as much as I wanted them on the team, I didn't need them on the team because God had already had my team ready. And the thing is here's what you have to understand in life. You need relationships. You need good, quality, godly, powerful, encouraging relationships. The right people or the right team will unlock or help unlock the right results in your life. You want victory? It's going to take partnership with the right people. You want elevation? It's going to take partnership with the right people. You want to grow? It's going to take partnership with the right people. And so what I want to say to you today, and that story, what it reminds me of, is you don't just need a team in your life. You need the right team. And I want to title this message, Not Just Any Team. Not just any team. When I was doing group projects in high school, I needed to pick the people who were going to do the work. Not just any team. I'm going to go to Exodus today and study an Old Testament passage, and I'm going to give you a little context for it. Israel has recently left slavery in this passage, and they're in the wilderness. They're on their journey to the promised land. But currently, they are without water, and they are complaining to their leader, Moses. So they're in Rephidim, which could possibly be modern-day Saudi Arabia, but it was a resting place for the Israelites, and they experienced there an unprovoked attack by the Amalekites. So in response to the unprovoked attack, Moses called Joshua to lead the armies of Israel into battle to defend the Israelites against the attack from Amalek. Amalek was this nomadic tribe who hated Israel. Okay, so that's where we're going to pick up. Exodus 17, verse 8. While the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow, I will stand at the top of the hill holding the staff of God in my hand. So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. As long as Moses held up the staff in his hand, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became so tired he could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands, so his hands held steady until sunset. What an interesting story, right? Now, a few things that I want you to notice about this story is this is likely a little bit of a ragtag or maybe not as well nourished group of soldiers for Israel. Okay, remember, they've just left being under some form of slavery under Egypt. They're probably not this well-oiled military. They're thirsty. They possibly maybe are not even as nourished as they could be. So in other words, they needed God to intervene. What's new? Moses, he still has, I think this is powerful, and I honestly could preach a whole message on this. He still has his rod or his staff that becomes miraculous. In Exodus chapter 4, God's like, Moses, what's in your hand? And Moses is like, a staff. You know, he's a shepherd. And God's like, throw it down. In other words, your identity of a shepherd, I'm about to make you a shepherd of men, not a shepherd of sheep. Who are you? I'm going to use it in an exponential way. God will take your gifts, your natural things, and he'll say, what do you have? Who are you? I'll use that if you let me. It'll be uncomfortable because I'll turn the staff into a snake and then I'll ask you to grab it by its tail, not its head. Anyway, I told you it's a whole different message. Anyway, that's the staff of God. In verse 20 of Exodus 4, the Bible actually says when he puts his family on the donkey to go, the Bible says he takes the staff of God in his hands. No longer was it the staff of a shepherd, but the staff of God. Okay, who's Aaron and Hur? Aaron was Moses' older brother. Well, you know that he did all the speaking for Moses. Moses had a speech impediment. I love that too because, again, God using Moses to deliver people, but he'll surround you with people that'll help you. They're connected by blood and experience and heart. Hur, H-U-R, male, not confused. He's described as a companion of Moses, a friend, a teammate, a servant, and he was from the tribe of Judah. So in other words, same value system, okay? So that's who Aaron and Hur are. These guys were brothers by blood and by spirit. So in other words, you can have brothers by blood and brothers by spirit. Brothers by blood, sisters by blood, sisters by spirit. And sometimes in the kingdom, especially when you cross over into the kingdom of God from death to life, sometimes those bonds of spiritual brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, aunts and uncles, become even stronger than blood. And so anyway, that's what you have here. I want you to think about this section. The Bible says that when Moses got tired, Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Let's look at that. A stone for him to sit on. I want you to think about what the stone represents. It represents a place of rest, of security. It's a foundation for Moses to continue the work that God had called him to. Each of us, every one of us have battles to fight, a family to lead. We've got a job to contend for, spiritual growth to gain, disciples to become, disciples to make, a marriage to maintain, kids to raise, money to make, obligations to fulfill, responsibilities to be had. All of us are contending for something. We're battling somewhere. All of us have victory to gain and ground to take. Would you agree with that? Okay. So the question today, especially as we consider the launch of our fall semester of block groups, I'm gonna get yelled at because I can't remember what we call it, is who in your life right now, provides a stone for you to sit on. Who in your life, what spiritual connection, what brother and sister puts a stone down for you when you are tired, and that is significant for you to be victorious in your life? There are many people in the kingdom who do not have people in their life. You isolate, and mainly because you know you're bad at relationships, because you haven't fixed your own stuff in your own life, but you forget that it's other people who will help expose those things and help you get better. You must create space and time for quality relationships that provide a foundation for you. You have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to create time for these people. Honestly, I would even suggest that some of us need to, in this next season, either leverage entertainment or remove entertainment to create relationships. Also, want to give you a caveat: deep-rooted, stone-sitting relationships do not happen overnight. So as practical as I can be, it's football season. Thank you, Jesus. So go invite somebody to watch a football game with you, even if you don't like sports, even if you don't like the teams. Pick a color, I don't know, or just root for who you're supposed to root for. Okay. Do I need to tell you who that is? It's like just sit there and just create some conversation. If you don't know what to do, you're allowed to have some basic conversation in the first half. Then the second half, just shut up. Okay, but you're not gonna develop. I was just helping some ladies get a date. Just kidding. Okay, just kidding. Too far. Okay, but I'm just saying, just do something in a social environment that is going to start some relationships that eventually could turn into some stone-sitting relationships. And of course, groups are a great place to start. Who in your life now, let's switch this, who in your life provides an unstable environment for you? Who in this season are you just you know what? They shouldn't be on my team anymore. They just, I can't, man, I don't think they're helping me win. Got to get out of these relationships. Or you need to address these things if they're your spouse or your family. I would encourage you to address them if they're not your spouse and your family, but sometimes people are untenable and impossible to deal with. And if they are, and they're not willing to grow and change, then maybe it's just time to say, I need a new team. I want to say something that might sound controversial, but when you think about it, it's not. You do not have to treat people the same. You do not have to. You have to treat people with equal dignity. Every life is valuable. Every life. Okay, even the people that are terrible. Okay, but you don't have to treat people the same. In fact, if you do, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and some people might take advantage of you. Okay, so do you think that Jesus treated Peter the same way he treated John? Peter, get behind me, Satan. John, why don't you give me a hug, man? And I say it like that because it's like some coaches, they can yell at a player, and that works. Some coaches need to just whisper in a player's ear and say, hey man, make a change. Different things work for different people, and you don't have to treat people the same. If you care about people, you actually will find out the way that you should treat those people. Jesus had 72 people that he commissioned for ministry. He had 12 that he taught closely, and he had 3 that he was the closest to that got the most out of him. He takes James, Peter, and John to experience the transfiguration where they see Elijah and Moses. I'm sure that James, John, and Peter encouraged and loved Jesus even in a way the 72 couldn't. And that they experienced Jesus obviously in a way that the others couldn't either. The church is a great place to find people who can be exactly who you need them to be, and you can be exactly who you need to be in front of them. Jesus transfigured in front of these clowns. And they went from these sorts of cursing fishermen to incredible people who turn the world upside down. Friends, block groups are a great place to find your three for maximum discipleship, for maximum fun, for maximum spiritual growth, for maximum depth. The church is an amazing place to find brothers and sisters of both blood and spirit. So who in your life provide a real firm foundation? Then I want you to look at the next part of it. And the Bible says they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands. I get this picture of Aaron and Hur standing on each side of Moses, understanding the implications that if he lowers his hands, what did we leave Egypt for? Did you understand how significant this moment is? Have you ever had a first battle that you're like, this is so daunting? You overcome it, but then you get to another battle and you're like, I've been there before? Yeah. This wasn't the I've been there before. They had really just left Egypt. And so like in their minds, man, we're gonna die right here. Like this was a significant moment. And just, I wanna prophetically speak to those who are in a consequential, significant moment that if you don't gain victory right now, man, this moment could take you out. And I just have this picture of Aaron and Hur, and the text doesn't say it, but literally frantically grabbing the stone for Moses, who's not 20, to sit down, and then them holding his arms up. You know, Aaron and Hur were probably tired too. It wasn't like probably like a cool 64 degrees. And so I can just see them in his ear. Moses, this too shall pass. I got you. I'm holding these arms up. I will not let you go. We're going to win. We did not leave Egypt for no reason. God is for us. Who could be against us? Just close your eyes, man. Rest. I got you. Jim Rohn, he said this. He says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I don't know about you, but I need Aaron and Hur in my life because I'm facing a lot of different battles on a lot of different theaters, a lot of different fronts. And I cannot fight alone. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm weak, I don't know, but I would guess and venture to say that you probably can't fight all your battles by yourself either. And if, as Jim says, if you're the average or you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, well then, man, you better get around some people who can hold your arms up. If your primary friend group is Miss Badmouth and Mr. Not Motivated and Mr. and Mrs. Always Broke and Sir No Vision and that boy is lazy and that girl is bitter and that guy who can't keep a job or doesn't even want one, or that girl who has no morals, or that guy who puts pressure on you to do this and do that, but none of it gets you anywhere but guilt and shame. then your primary friend group has to change. Those are not the kind of people that are putting a stone on your butt and holding up your hands. Now, the reality is all of us are going to get tired and weary and exhausted. It's a guarantee of life. Even Jesus had Simon of Cyrene who helped him carry the cross. So it's obviously time that we evaluate those we might be naming Aaron and her and those who actually are. We need people in our life who challenge us and who push us and who question us in love and are further along than we are in our journey, who sharpen us, who inspire us, who motivate us to be better, who don't put pressure on us to compromise and sin, who want to see us have overflow and blessings, who celebrate when we win, not just make the story about them. Now, a caveat to this is that it's also invaluable that you spend time reaching out for those who don't know Jesus. You got to spend time on some level with people who aren't Christians. Okay, but you have to balance that with having strong, seasoned, sharp believers in your life. Because the reality is you can glean a lot of things from all sorts of people, but when your back is against the wall and it's more spiritual than you think, you better have some believers holding your arm up and whispering in your ear, telling you that God's got a plan. This moment, to me, looks like the cross. In the middle, you have Moses holding a chosen wooden stick. And on his left, he has goodness and mercy, following him, caring for him. Moses saying, I can't do it any longer, and his brother saying, you don't have to, the battle is already won. When we provide strength for our brothers and sisters lifting up their weary arms, we reflect a significant picture of Jesus in their life. Now, friends, I also just want to give a caveat 2.0. You don't have to rush into Christian community because there's also toxic Christians. Okay, on your first Christian friend date, you don't have to reveal all your deep, dark secrets. You can date around friend-wise a little bit, you know. But over time, when people have proven themselves, they're worthy of your trust and vulnerability. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help him. As good teammates and brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you to remind your community of what we have in Jesus. Can I remind you what we have in Jesus, every location? That the battle is won already. That God is for us. That we are not alone, that we are more than conquerors, that Jesus paid it all. We don't have to carry this by ourselves. We are going to win. That's what we have in Jesus. Gotta trust it. Exodus 17:13, I'm winding down here, but Exodus 17:13 says that as a result, somebody say that, as a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle, in improbable victory, back against the wall. They should have lost, probably outnumbered, if not outnumbered, probably overwhelmed. Tired, thirsty, hungry, frustrated, afraid, possibly all of these things. Yet, as a result of the staff of God being lifted up, as a result of the power of God being acknowledged, as a result of God being first. Because friends, don't you understand? That's what this is. The staff represents that it is God who is first. It is God who delivers. It is God who provides. It is God who is our source. It is God who is our strength. It is only Yahweh. That is what it represents. That's the staff of God. And so what they're doing by lifting that up is they are saying, not in our strength, not by my own power, not by my own might, but only by the Spirit of the Lord. Because Aaron and Hur helped Moses keep God first, Joshua experienced victory. Think about this. There's a lot of areas in our life that at times we struggle to keep God first. Sometimes we struggle to keep God first in our finances and be givers and be tithers. But we have messages, we have brothers and sisters, we have friends that say, hey, God's gonna provide for you. You have to trust him, keep him first. Sometimes we have trouble keeping God first in our romance and in our relationships, and we've got brothers and sisters, Aaron and Hur, saying, hey, keep God first. God's way is the best way, even if it takes longer. We have trouble keeping God first in our prayer life or in our devotion life, but we're doing devotions and prayer with other people because they're reminding us, they're saying, hey, make God first. And because we have the encouragement of others, we're able to keep God first. And in all the areas of our life that at times just life happens and we go through struggles and challenges and job loss and job gain and disappointment and frustrations and fears and troubles. But when we have brothers and sisters holding up our arms up saying, in your life, keep God first, what happens is other people get impacted by you keeping God first. Do you understand that Joshua represented the next generation? Can I speak to mom and dad for a moment? Mom and dad, Joshua is down there fighting his own battles. And when you keep God first in your life, it is helping Joshua be victorious. You've got to keep God first in your life as mom and dad. That's just a small example. But guess what? Without Aaron and Hur, Joshua loses. Israel loses. Victory in the kingdom is never individualistic. What you do for one impacts another. And how you treat yourself impacts other people. Aaron and Hur impacted Moses, and it impacted Joshua, and it impacted the rest of the community. Never underestimate your impact when you are in covenant relationships. The right kind. I want to highlight what I've noticed even online is I just feel like our Northeast men, our guys, have just been developing incredible community. They're hanging out, they're serving each other, they're praying together on Thursday. I got a picture, they're at the movies. They're putting in work at the new building. They're challenging each other to grow, to give, to love. They're serving, and it is impacting other people. Friends, listen to me. Your victory today is a result of the community that was fighting and praying for you yesterday. And your victory tomorrow is a result of the covenant relationships fighting with you today. I want to close. Verse 14, after the victory, the Lord instructed Moses, write this down, this moment on a scroll as a permanent reminder and read it aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of Amalek from under heaven. So Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nisi, which means the Lord is my banner. Nisi describes a flag or a banner. The idea that God is victorious in battle and the flag of his victory is lifted high. Friends, I love this, and I love this in the realm of relationship. Last week at the Block Church, on a holiday, we baptized 69 people. That same banner that they were raising then, we were raising last week, and we're raising now. That we serve Jehovah Nisi. God is our victory. The banner waves through the covenant of our relationships as we fight together. You brought people last week. You were in the tank with people last week. You discipled people to the tank last week. Do you understand that many people's deliverance is connected to you in their ear, saying, you can do this, you got this, God is with you. And many of your victories is a result of somebody doing the same thing for you. Friends, don't ever forget that we wave the flag that Jesus reigns and that Jesus is King together. You've got to make him Lord of your life, of your own life individually. But if you want victory, you better have somebody come around you and wave that banner today and say, the devil will not have me, my life, my family, my church. I will be victorious because that's what's promised to me. You have an opportunity today, when this service ends, to run out and to sign up for a group and get into some victorious community. We don't win alone. You need other people.